Hello again and welcome to Spotlight, the interview show on RT. I'm Al and today my guest is Michael Germershausen. Top managers are once again in high demand, both in Russia and abroad. But did the crisis change anything in recruitment strategies? Our guest should know.
Michael Germershausen has been in the recruitment industry for almost 7 years, with a few years' experience in the Russian market. Joining Antal International in 2003, he went from being a recruitment consultant to team leader, and within 2 years became a partner and head of the sales, marketing and retail department. Since 2006, Mr. Germershausen has been responsible for the regional expansion of Antal International Russia, and recently he was appointed as the managing director of the company. Michael Germershausen is our guest on Spotlight today to talk about the effects of the world economic crisis on the recruitment industry.
Hello, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Good day.
Thank you for being with us. Well, first of all, it seems that today the recruiters should be more attentive towards the job applicants than they were before. Is that true?
It's probably less so true. I would say that the recruiters are much more attentive to the employers, because obviously they have a bit more choice than they had 2 or 3 years ago. So we are taking much more care of the projects and of the employers, because there's a big number or a bigger number of applicants these days.
But are the applicants, especially those who are seeking for top positions in companies, are they less greedy than they were before the crisis? Is really unemployment an issue for people like top managers?
I think people who are now out of work, yes, they are much more flexible with regards to packages, with regards to salaries and bonuses. If it comes to people which are still in job and we ask them to make a change in their career and move to other companies, they are actually, you use the word greedy, they are much more looking for something secure, and they see changing jobs now as a risk, so they would actually be asking for a higher risk premium and higher salary than they would have asked 2 years ago. If you change a job now, you might after 3 months find out that the new job is nothing for you, and then you move out of the company and you won't find a job that easily anymore. 2 years ago you would easily find a new job, and then after half a year another new job if the new job didn't work out.
Well, actually the economic crisis made many people look for a job far away from home. Spotlight's Elena Demidova has more.
When an entire city is dependent on just one industry, it becomes exceptionally vulnerable during times of economic hardship. 40% of Russian cities are in this situation. If the only enterprise suffers a downturn, people are left with no other option but to hit the road in search of a new job. And economic migration is not only an issue for so-called mono-cities. A 2009 survey showed that 46% of Muscovites were ready to leave the capital and search for better opportunities in other Russian regions if it would help them cope with their finances better. In general, a financial crisis is a time of increased mobility, either within a country or internationally. In September 2009, 130 European cities said they supported economic migration. Still, in most countries, it's limited by quotas, and that's an obstacle for those looking for jobs abroad. Moscow also has a work migration quota. In 2010, just 250,000 foreigners will be allowed to work in the Russian capital. This figure is almost down 50% on 2009.
Well, actually, a survey that was carried out this year found Russia to be home to the wealthiest expats in the world. That's how it's supposed to put it, wealthiest expats in the world. How would you explain this willingness of Russian companies to pay big bucks to foreigners?
I would probably comment that they are not the wealthiest experts in the world, but the best paid experts in the world probably, because obviously the cost of living is quite high in Russia, and for several companies it's quite difficult to motivate people who are not familiar with Russia to make the move over to Russia. We should also probably distinguish between international companies which send their, and that's what we call an expat, probably send their expat to Russia on a 2-year or 3-year contract, and they compensate for all the loss in living standards or whatever, and give quite a lot of money to these people to find an international school. International schooling is very expensive still. Housing is still very expensive. But also the Russian companies, the local employers, are more and more looking for international experts. You have an international trainer for the football club, and it goes right through the economy as well. There's many areas in the economy where there is still big demand for international people, and to make them move to Russia, money counts, and money pays for their wages.
Well, I hope that in most of the areas where expats work, the results of the work is better than in football, where we hired an international coach. Well, I hope they're at least it's doing some good for other fields. Well, but what about the international companies, the transnational companies that are working in Russia? Do they prefer also to hire expats, to hire foreigners, or they try to seek more for Russians?
For them, it's very important to have a healthy mix of international people and high potentials in their business and local staff. And to find that healthy mix is quite difficult, because there is companies, especially in the 90s, they used to have hundreds of foreigners in their companies, and local staff didn't have the opportunity to move within those companies. If you look at now some of the blue chip Russian companies, they are run by these top Russian managers which reached the ceiling in those big international companies in the 90s, and then moved out and set up their own company. In general, that usually was quite of an issue. But these days, international companies feel much more confident to hire local staff as well. And actually, as part of the crisis, a lot of international companies have accelerated that process and have started to look to replace some of the foreign staff with local staff.
During the crisis, I didn't see a big change in prices, at least in Moscow, where most of the expats work. Now, you said that in the beginning of this interview that higher salaries don't actually make expats richer because of the high cost of living. But did you notice any increase in salaries, or rather the salaries became smaller during the crisis?
In general, ruble salaries have stayed the same because of the devaluation of the ruble. In euro terms and in dollar terms, they've obviously changed. But we don't anticipate any big rises in salaries this year on the whole. There will be some kind of small compensation for inflation. Inflation is still an issue over here. But in general, salaries have stabilized, and in some industries actually have come down and have shifted more into bonus elements. Into a lot more long-term
So salaries are rather either stable or becoming a bit lower, while the prices continue to rise. Not as they used to, but still. Does that mean that Russia, especially Moscow, isn't such a piece of cake for the expats as it used to be a couple of years ago?
Yes and no, because we have to distinguish probably between two kinds of expats. You have localized expats. These are people who speak the language fluently, who've been here 10, 15 years, and they are almost part of the Russian economy.
Married to Russians, yeah.
Married to Russians, have almost have residence permits already. Some of them have already gained even Russian citizenships in addition. And then you have the expat you are probably referring to, which are sent out usually on 2 or 3 year assignments from the international companies, and they are still very, very well paid, and they get all the things compensated from schooling to housing to driver and things like that.
You mentioned the employees with whom you're very, very attentive today. And, what are they seeking? What are the most wanted professions today among your clients, among employees?
Always the most wanted professions, regardless crisis or not crisis, are good salespeople. In all parts of the economy, it is always very important to develop your business, to develop your sales. So there is still a big demand for good salespeople. And we actually see that a lot of companies are coming back to us and say, well, we're not really happy with our current sales manager. Could you find us somebody who is a bit closer to the market and can do the job a bit better than our current person?